some teachings were expressed in a way that will make sure that the theological foundation of all who are subjected to whatever form of oppression stay in that oppression.
It's the Soul Engineer back again with another episode of Engineer Thoughts. Welcome back if you're listening to this, and if you're new here, welcome to the show. This is my third episode in Botswana, and this is my last day in Botswana as well. So what's a better way to do this than with Mr. Gakeesi himself?
You gotta make sure.
Exactly. So a short intro on Gakeesi. He's been on the episode before. He was in, I think it was episode 5 of Engineer Thoughts. The episode was titled, Do We Need Culture? If you haven't listened to it, I highly suggest you check it out because it's an amazing episode. I learned a lot. This guy was just speaking fire and bars. So if you have time, just go check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, welcome, man.
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure. You know I enjoy being here.
Exactly. I always enjoy being with you.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
Exactly. I think this is probably the first time, maybe first of few times or one of few times we've spent time together and it's not a camp.
Yeah, man, it's as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow, it's
like,
been long.
We talk like quite regularly. We have each other's numbers. I think we're friends on almost every platform I'm on, but we physically been together most of the time at like some sort of camp. Probably because that's the only time.
Yeah,
we're together.
I think also because throughout our time, it was either I was in school. Well, we were both in school, of course. And then, of course, as we're both in school, it's not easy to meet up.
It's not easy, yeah.
Holidays, you go home, everybody goes their way.
Everyone goes their way.
And then camps, it's just the common denominator that brings us together.
Legit.
But at least now we can find
a common, like,
some sort of way.
Exactly, that's true.
Yeah.
And I think on my end, I think what made it worse for me is because I moved out of the country altogether.
Exactly. And
so like, dude, there's still people I haven't seen to this day.
Hey, bruh, and wait, have you come back ever since you went the first time?
No, this is my first time in Botswana.
And we almost didn't link up.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, am I going to see this guy?
Coincidence, eh?
Coincidence, blessings, luck, whatever. It's just crazy.
Whatever it is, it's there.
Exactly, bro. Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. I'm just happy we could do this.
Legit.
Happy we could do this, bro.
But still on that camp tone, it's been how many years since you've had a proper camp in Botswana?
The last time we had camp was
I think it was 2019 for me. I think my last camp was the camp meeting. The one that was in Francistown.
I didn't attend that one.
Yeah.
There was a youth camp. I don't know who organized it. In Swakop.
In Swakop. You went?
I didn't go.
You didn't go?
So the last one I attended was in 2018.
Magaliesburg?
No, Cape Town.
I was in Cape Town. Why am I saying Magalis? Magalis was 2017.
Magalis was 2017.
That was a really crazy camp, and it had its sad isn't we went to take?
Yes,
as it said at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, we were
we're all there.
Yeah. It just had a sad ending. It was pretty lit camp. It just had a very sad ending.
It was quite hectic, but it's one of those.
It's one of those
things that we meet.
Yeah,
life ke wasabi.
How
it is, I don't know.
But it is what it is.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, life you're not ke wasabi. But I mean, how do you think camp culture is going to be like once we, let's say, resume camps?
Well, what I've realized is that a lot of us have missed certain things.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, the first thing is human interaction.
True.
And that's one thing that I know that a lot of us miss. And I don't just mean one-on-one interaction. I mean like corporate interaction even. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's one thing that I believe is going to be a big deal. But also because of our interactions with programming, I mean, a lot of us have. We are not used to sitting in one place for a program for hours.
For hours. That's true.
We're used to the comfort of sitting, getting bored, going to get a glass of water
Then
while
coming back.
listening, you know. I remember there was one program, I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
It was a physical thing, so I had to be there.
Oh.
And I was thirsty, bruh. I was thirsty. And I'm like,
just
okay,
get up and
I
go.
gotta get water. But now, if I go get water, I'm gonna miss what they're saying.
Ish.
So now the confusion of, do I leave? Do I come? Do I stay? Do I die of thirst?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, some of those little things are gonna need getting used to.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah, but what I know is, where young people are gathered, it always has to be some sort of good.
It has to be.
Yeah.
That's what I think as well.
Something good must come out.
Always. I think what I've learned from what you're talking about, what I've learned is I think normal programming is going to have to change.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially the way we kind of like have intervals between whatever programs you have, especially Mokerekeng, you know. I mean, it's okay to have like a 2-hour, 3-hour Bible study, but it shouldn't just be 2 continuous hours.
Exactly.
It should be punctuated with something.
And also, just to interject, sorry about that. With some of these things, with COVID and all that, we had the luxury of getting bored and looking for another place.
And look at you just like,
so if this event doesn't tickle my fancy,
you just move.
You move to the next one, you know.
Move.
So with this, you then realize the importance of actually delivering good content each
I was about
time.
to say that, yeah.
So so it kind of puts us under pressure. If you have an event, you have to have good speakers, you have to have
all
good
the time.
presenters, you have to have. It's no longer we can, it's nice to.
You need to.
But you need to, you know. People can come, but they don't have to pay attention. So you got to make sure that they pay attention. Yeah.
I think that was my problem, you know, like some churches, like during COVID and all, they just decided to like not necessarily shut down, but they stopped holding their own programs online because people were leaving and going to watch or listen to other programs on other churches. Or like I remember the big churches in Botswana, like the ones that were really, really having lots of attendance was like Broadhurst, G Central, G West. Actually, those were the ones. Maybe sometimes one Francistown church. If there's a really, really decent thing going on,
it depends on the event.
Yeah.
Yes. But
like these ones that I just mentioned, bro, especially Broadhurst, week in, week out.
And a lot of people actually watched programs in South Africa. Because that side, I think the union had a program.
They have a studio, I think.
Yes, they have a studio. So, sorry, they kept going, the conferences and some churches. So you had a lot of options.
A lot of options. I think for me, especially like peak COVID, I was watching a lot of Mel V and maybe like general conference sponsored events. And what's this guy's name? Pastor Doug Batchelor. What's that? The Amazing Facts.
Oh, Amazing Facts. Yes.
So I was like, sometimes I just join like our local church Zoom if like I'm feeling like listening to Russian that day. But it was just jumping between those three and sometimes like local. So I was like, what are the other churches going to do after we open up?
Yeah, I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
It's gonna need a lot of thinking. It's going to need a lot of planning.
Yeah.
Because not all churches have the luxury of having a guest speaker every week, a guest group every week, you know.
Yeah.
So it's going to need a lot of adjustment. It's going to need a lot of innovation.
Big innovation.
Serious stuff, you know.
Wow.
It doesn't look. What I've realized is you don't have to have big things.
Nah, not at all.
You can do small things in big ways.
In big ways.
Instead of inviting a guest preacher every week, you can get one preacher who you trust, have a preaching conference one weekend.
For 1 weekend.
And then you train minimum of 10 preachers.
Teach people how to preach.
Exactly. So you know that for at least 10 weeks, you are safe.
You're safe.
You know.
Can I check if this is recording? I don't trust myself. Okay, it's still recording.
Okay, no, that's good.
I don't trust myself. But yeah, you're still safe.
Yeah, no. So it's just about thinking, being innovative, however you say
What's
the word.
the right way of saying that?
Don't ask me, I don't know.
But you're the English guy.
I don't know.
Okay,
we write English. It's not our mother tongue.
not spoken. I don't like English.
Legit. This is a problem. Yeah, so it's look, this is something that goes across the board, honestly. In all platforms of leadership, you have to have a sense of innovation and say, okay, what can we do to best serve this purpose? To best serve this mandate. And sometimes the method keeps changing every year.
Every single time.
Even if it's the same leader, and you should be open to that. It's difficult, yes, of course. Can't be easy.
I agree with that.
But we must allow ourselves to succumb to the pain of change and growth.
Change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we've learned. I've been reading. I keep raving about this book in every episode because I've been reading it like throughout the time I've been recording.
Yeah.
The Psychology of Money.
Okay.
So the chapter I was reading last night talks about how whatever is rational might not be reasonable.
Of course.
And whatever is reasonable might change tomorrow. So like you have to be able to change with the times. You have to be able to change and kind of like keep up with the way life is changing.
Exactly. In theology, there's this notion of we keep reforming.
Ooh.
So I was interviewing a pastor of the UCCSA.
Okay.
That's the United Congregational Church of Southern Africa. I hope I said it right.
That's a very long. It's a very long title.
It's Reverend Mualefe.
Okay.
He says. I was just asking him about the fundamental ideals of the UCCSA, and he says to me, one idea is that we keep reforming.
Yeah.
So at no point can you say that you've got the entirety
done with reform
of understanding.
Yeah.
You can say, okay, we've got it. We've got the answer. We're done. And then next minute, a child comes with a totally new revelation.
New and different.
And it's not just something in theology. It's something that should be noted in life.
It's a life thing.
Yeah, we keep learning.
Really is.
They call it the University of Life. You never stop learning.
You never stop learning, bro.
Until you stop learning, and when you stop learning,
probably dead.
Yeah,
you'll probably be dead.
It's finished.
Wait. I agree with you. And speaking of theology, you're in your final year of theology, right?
Bruh.
Yeah.
Finally.
It's time to hang up.
Yeah.
The scholarly books.
It's time to. There's a song that I love. Powerful song.
What does it say?
The song says, "Let it go." My brother, I've listened to the song. I'm letting it go.
It's time. It's time. So take us through like your 4 years in theology. How has it been?
It's been hectic. It's been hectic. One thing, okay, there's an idea that when you do theology, you just open the Bible, read it, say amen, and then you're qualified.
No.
But
That's crazy.
just to demystify it, I won't give you too much detail. But theology relates very closely to the humanities.
Yeah, I think it is a humanity.
The reason why I say relates to is that in some institutions you'll have it as a separate faculty. So you'll
like
have a faculty of theology. Then you'll have institutions where you have faculty of arts and faculty of humanities. And sometimes you can find it in either side.
Now,
with that being said,
wow.
theology serves quite a number of purposes. Number one, you're trying to understand ideals from a source material that is distant from a reality of your own.
Wow.
So fundamentally, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you get... So I'll give you an example. In school, we read Chinua Achebe's No Longer at Ease.
Okay.
Now, there are many things in the text No Longer at Ease that will not make sense because we are not Nigerians.
Because you're not Nigerian.
Immediately after independence.
Independence,
right?
yeah.
So post-independence Nigeria is very different from 2022 Botswana. Number one, there's cultural divide. Number two, there's a time divide.
I think people forget that time divide.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's a fundamental difference in reality between the two. So you'll then have to go back and say, okay, what was Chinua Achebe experiencing as a writer?
Yeah.
Number two, what was the purpose of him writing what he was writing? Number three, when he expresses these thoughts, how does the audience read it? Because he's writing to a fundamentally Nigerian context, right?
Fair. Yeah.
Because he's speaking Nigerian matters. When Ngugi Thiong'o writes, he writes to a Kenyan context because he himself is within a Kenyan context. You know? So you cannot read either writer
unless you understand the context.
Exactly. So you begin in the context. What is happening? What is going on? What is he experiencing? What is he writing to? Right. So when you read Ngugi Thiong'o, you look at the context and say, okay, he's writing to a post-colonial Kenya where there is a fundamental divide between Africans who have followed the missionaries and Africans who stay in their traditional ways. Right. And he's writing to the division between the two factions, you know. Likewise, when you read the Bible, it is easy to just read for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, so on and so forth. But it then makes a difference when you say, okay, who is writing that?
Yeah.
Why was he writing that? Who is he writing it to?
Yeah.
Right. When that person reads that, what do they understand? You know, what are the fundamental philosophies, the ideals, the context that feeds into
behind
that?
All of that.
You know, so the idea is to try and get to understand what is happening behind the text and within the text itself. Another thing that theology does is that it then says, okay, the text says this. How does the text then inform our context? Because
that's very important.
I mean, a lot of us come into theology with the presupposition or preconception or certain preconceptions of reality, God, life, and so on and so forth in the Christian walk. So then you say, okay, fine. How does this text inform my life? Right. So it's a matter of abstraction. You're saying, okay, here's what is being said. In the abstract, what is it? Right. So in other words, sorry about that, Jesus heals the sick. Right. This is a very simplistic thing, but I believe you'll get the point. So Jesus heals the sick. In the abstract, healing the sick is good. So what does it mean to my context? I must heal the sick. Right. Okay, of course, that's a very weird way to put it, but I must make sure, or I must prioritize the wellness of others. Right. Another example, Jesus feeds the hungry. Right. In the abstract, it is good to feed the hungry. Therefore, in my context, I must feed the hungry and defend the poor, and stuff like that. I must defend justice. That is why I'll give you an example. If you have time, just Google. There's a document called the Kairos document. Now, the theology then relates to society deeply. Because of that, how does this affect our context? Let me express it in this way. You have apartheid South Africa. Apartheid. however you decide to say
However it goes.
You have apartheid South Africa,
Yeah.
and in that, now, you will understand that many people used, now I'm going to say this very carefully, many people used a Christian format for economic gain.
Yes. I get
when
what you mean.
you get me. So
Yeah.
when people get slaves, especially in the US, many of them adapted the Bible and promoted certain texts within the Bible that may suggest that the slave is ought to become a better slave. Even this side. So a lot of times some teachings were expressed in a way that will make sure that the theological foundation of all who are subjected to whatever form of oppression stay in that oppression. So
Wow.
that is why you will have pacifist theories that come from the Bible.
Yeah.
So do not retaliate. Retaliation is a sin.
It's a sin.
Why? Because the oppressor is afraid of your retaliation.
Eish.
That's why some people will then say, slaves obey your masters.
Slaves obey your slave masters, yeah.
That is why an oppressive husband will emphasize wives submit to your husbands. It is a matter of context and say, okay, this is what benefits me, so I will make sure that I emphasize
that.
what benefits me.
Wow.
And then you will find that apartheid itself had a theological basis, right? And that's problematic.
On its own, it is.
Because then that suggests that God, Jesus, and all these biblical pillars or icons, one may say, are founded upon a classist ideal or whatever segregatory format you take. And then a number of black theologians come together and say, no, this can't be. When we read the Bible, that's not what we see.
That's not what it says.
So they come together and agree on certain things and drive a point home that according to what we read, apartheid is wrong.
Yeah.
And because apartheid is wrong, and of course this is a overly simplified way to express the paper, but please do check it out. Because apartheid is wrong, and what we are seeing is this, of course, from that context and abstraction, and when we bring it to our context, we are then bound to retaliate. That is why you then have a number of black theologians who are active in the development of one document called the Freedom Charter.
Yes.
Which is the foundation of a lot of ideals in South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
Of course, some of them haven't yet translated into reality, but these are good foundations, one of which is South Africa belongs to all people who live within it. So these matters of justice and equality are seen in the Bible.
Yeah.
And this is one purpose that theology serves. Going back to the initial question.
Don't worry.
So basically, with all that having been said, basically, in the years that I've been studying, and I am still studying, one thing that I am learning is extracting and applying. Right.
Yeah. I think that's the hard part, especially as a theologian.
It is the hard part. Now, here's what then happens. You don't have to be a pastor to then practice
theology,
because it inculcates in you this idea of, you know what, of service, you know, of justice, of equality, of saying, okay, we are here to defend our fellow man, right? So it is not okay that some people live in squalor. It's not okay that there is adverse poverty. It is not okay that women are treated a certain way. It is not okay that certain people are abused. It is not okay that there is racism. It is not okay that there is classism. It's not okay that a certain group of people can be treated a certain way just because they have more money than others. And that is why Reverend Mualefe will then say resurrection is insurrection. Now let me just 2 minutes before you take us further, just to explain. N.T. Wright, one theologian, says the resurrection of Jesus Christ is political dynamite. Now, in the context of other writers, if you look at other writers and bring the thoughts together, you will realize that one of them says the resurrection of Jesus Christ means a lot because God decides to resurrect a rebel. And because Jesus was considered
a rebel in the context of the
Jesus was considered a rebel. Yes.
Jesus
was considered a rebel. Jesus was considered a criminal. And the fact that God decides to resurrect the rejected person in Jesus Christ is itself political dynamite, which means that the very resurrection of Jesus Christ is an act of protest against injustice. So God resurrects Jesus as an act of retaliation and protest to the injustice of the crucifixion of Jesus. So what does that mean? It can't be okay for me to witness injustice and be okay.
I have to do my part in retaliate.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
I have to do my part in making sure that justice is upheld and is served. That's the idea. That's one idea that is expressed. Let me stop here. I'm getting into the spirit.
Well, then I guess that pretty much summarizes like your 4 years in theology. It's again, it's an oversimplified summary. All that is oversimplified, but it gives us insight on what actually it is you do. A lot of people always say, "Hey, we love theology, you love the Bible, you love rapella." It's not just that. The other modules, these guys learn a lot.
And I must say, with all these witnesses, that theology has taught me one fundamental thing, and that growth is important.
That's actually about us.
And in growth, one thing you will realize is that growth is painful. Growth is depressing. Growth is hectic. Growth is like swallowing a whole chunk of wasabi. I don't know why I like this wasabi analogy, but it makes so much sense.
It does.
That's growth. And the thing is, in growth, there are some things you have to let go of. And you have to adjust to certain things. So, just as a fundamental principle, I would say to everyone, allow yourself to grow, allow yourself to unlearn, allow yourself to relearn, yourself to forget certain things, allow yourself to let go, because sometimes letting go is harder than jumping onto something new, especially when you've developed a comfort zone of your own.
That makes sense. Okay, let's quickly take a break. We'll be back.
Awesome.
All right. I guess we're back. You're ready to continue, right?
No, I'm okay. We just switched.
I forgot to ask if you are ready.
No, I was ready. I
think I'm so used to recording alone, right?
I get you. I get
so
you.
It's me. It could be me like answering a call, yo, and then like as soon as I hang up, I get back into it.
Just before we how many takes do you generally take?
Before, like when I'm recording,
me,
it's one dog.
Are you serious?
If I make a mistake, it's shy. Unless it's like something really, really important. Or maybe do 2 or 3.
Bruh, I'll get there one day.
Like I used to do like a couple of takes.
There was a time I did like 40 something takes.
Nah, that's
bad.
I think for me, I used to stress a lot about the takes. Like I'm like, this gotta be perfect. This gotta. Me, bro. If something falls on me while I'm recording, I best believe it's going to be, you are going to see it as a viewer.
Definitely. I think one thing that made me accept that is the interviews that I was doing for my podcast.
Exactly.
So you can't really say, okay, let's start again. You know,
That's what I mean. I think for me it's because of the podcast. Once I've recorded, my boy,
so I say something stupid. I'm like, oh no, I can't believe I said that, and you can't cut awkwardly. You know, so
it's
like
gone. Yeah.
It's in.
That's it. That's literally it.
Yeah.
Sheesh, but like when takes are such a content creation is such a.
It's hell, bro.
It's hell, bro.
It's hell.
Which let's actually talk about content creation since we've started. You're now into content creation now.
Finally, yeah.
After people hashing you, Mister.
Hey, and it's been a while, eh?
Yeah,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. How has that been? Like,
so
how's it been?
Let's start here.
Yeah.
My journey started during COVID. I don't remember how exactly. Yeah. So what happened was I had been wanting to get some studio stuff. So a mic, basic stuff.
Some basics, yeah.
When I was in school. But unfortunately, I didn't know what to get.
Ah, yes.
So I came this side. I have a sound engineer friend of mine. His name is Richard Ngenda.
Okay.
I'm plugging him.
You plug his stuff below.
Yeah. Just check him out on Instagram. He's produced a number of songs. He's quite good.
Oh, he's a producer, like a proper.
Yeah, no, he's good. Some of the stuff that I learned to do, I learned from him.
Ah, yeah.
So I would do something, send it to him. He's like, "Bro, you're doing nonsense." And then, of course, he wouldn't say that, but I knew that's what he meant.
That's what he meant, yeah.
So there are things that I learned from him, and I'm still to learn some stuff from him. You know, he's the backpack engineer on Instagram.
Bro, that name sounds so familiar.
Yeah,
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, check it out. I've shared some of his stuff on my Instagram. So I think you've seen a few things.
Sounds so familiar.
So I talked to him like, bruh, I want to do 1, 2, 3. What should I get? So he recommends some stuff for me. So I get the stuff.
Yeah.
I speak to you. I'm like, bruh, you know your cameras and stuff. What should I get?
Oh yeah.
So we speak. I prepare what I prepare. I get the camera. So as I'm before I get there actually. So I'm recording a few songs here and there.
Yeah.
Some of which are really bad.
You can't do something good without doing lots of bad.
Yeah, some of them were terrible. Like when I look back at some of the stuff I've posted, I'm like, yo, why?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
What were you doing?
Me, I don't even upload. I'm like,
Yeah, but I appreciate that I did.
Yeah.
Because it actually puts me out there and says, you know, you actually can do this. And I have a point of reference to say, look, I'm actually growing. You know?
I guess, yeah.
Because when I look at the first video I posted, at that time it was like, wow, you know, I've done something wonderful. Now I'm like, But then I do, now
I know that feeling.
Yeah, now I'm starting to discover my sound, and it's been like a year or more.
Yeah.
It's been more than a year, because I think I got them 2020. Yeah. And I'm discovering my sound now. I'm actually coming to a point where I can be, I'm almost at a point where I know what to do. Right now, just as a warning, I have, I think, 3 songs. One I uploaded. I usually do covers.
I know you're into covers.
Like, known songs. Pre-existing songs.
Yeah.
So I uploaded the latest one around Easter. Ndiko Kelebao.
I haven't checked it out.
It's a Zulu or Xhosa song. I'm not sure. That's the one that Motio did, something Soyb. Of course I didn't do it like something Soyb.
No one can replicate it.
No, nobody can do that. But I tried it and I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed what happened. There are 2 more that I'm working on. I just need the sound to be alright. I've put all the layers in that I need to.
Yeah.
I've come from doing 4 layers to doing 40 something layers. It's a lot of work. So I'm just working on the sound. I need to perfect the sound, and once it's good enough, then I can post it. Another song also, just like that. I think there's a 3rd one, but it's it's giving me stress because I'm more of a vocal guy. I'm still learning how to produce instrumentals. I'm not yet there. Beats and stuff. I'm not yet there. But for now, I'm still doing vocals. Now that's that front. On the video content creation, one day I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do a video. I don't know why.
I know that. Just a random calling.
I'm like,
just upload.
I gotta do a video. Now I have a problem, is that I can be quite hard on myself.
Oh yeah.
You know. So I get into the cycle of I'm gonna do it. I can't do it. I'm gonna do it. Should I really do it? I'm gonna do it. Will people like what I'm doing? You know that self-destructive sort of cycle. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to trap myself.
Once.
I am going to present Independence.
Yeah.
This was 2020.
2020, yeah.
I am going to present Independence. And so I did a poster that I've been doing for a while, but I'm not a graphic designer. I just do.
You just do
stuff,
for the sake of doing. Yeah.
That's why I don't sell my services.
Yeah, me too. I feel like it's gonna be hard for me to do something you like if I do something for you.
Plus, I do it when I'm in the mood.
Exactly. Then there's that also.
You can't tell me to do it because I'll do it badly.
Yeah, very bad. Because now I'm out of mood.
So I do a poster, I post it, share it on Instagram, share it on WhatsApp, share it on Facebook. Now I have to do it. You know, I'm bound by my word.
Word is bond.
I realize that I have to do it when someone sends me screenshots. And this person says, I enjoy when this guy talks.
Wow.
I'm like, what? Me?
Yeah.
Impossible. It can't be me. So I come to a point where I'm like, you know what? You got to do this, man.
Yo.
So I do it. Now, it was because it was a live video.
Yeah,
it was my first time doing a live video.
Yeah.
I got there. I put my device there. Went live at the time. The numbers kept on going. I that initial interaction with the people when you're waiting for people to come in.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I don't know. Okay, are people going to be 5, 14? You know, when you don't know if people are gonna, the number is gonna increase.
Yeah.
So there was a point where it got to about 20 something. I'm like, you know what? I ain't gonna get anything better than this.
Let's go.
So I start. So it was 20 something, 30 something. You know, a constant fluctuation between those numbers. I end my life. So the comments are coming in.
Yeah.
So now I feel okay. I feel confident. I do what I do.
Yo.
And I end the live. When I end the live, I get it shows you the views. When I look, it says 100 and something people have viewed your video.
Yo.
So I say, okay, some people watched for 2 minutes. However long they watched for.
Someone watched.
100 and something people watched. So I'm like, okay, this is serious. After some time, after about a week or two, I keep checking the views because, we gotta know.
You gotta know. Hey, there's that anxiety.
There's a point where I got about 1.4 views.
1,400
views. I'm like, this is crazy. So that's the point where I said, okay, you know what? I gotta do this.
Yeah.
After some time, now the problem is, what do I do? What do I offer? Because then you have to find, okay, what I'm good at, what I can discuss, what I can produce continuous content from.
Yeah.
And what people would like to hear.
Kind of there's that too.
Exactly. Now, here's the tricky part. If it's not usually, because usually with content creation, it's mostly funny stuff or
some sort of comedy,
something about money
or something,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I learned, you know what? In marketing, I'm not a marketing person, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In marketing, whatever you market, you have to convince people that they need your product.
I was about to say, that's the key part.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure I do it so well that people will realize
people feel
that
they
need what I'm creating. So unfortunately I did another video. It didn't go too well because stuff was happening. It was Christmas. You know how Christmas
people are not online.
I didn't anticipate, and for myself things were happening, so time I couldn't do it on time, all that. So I didn't anticipate some of these things. After some time, a friend of mine says to me, "You know what, bro? How you listen?" So now he's attacking me. So I'm like, "What did I do?
What did I do?
Hey, what's going on?" He says, "You are robbing the world of what you can offer. And you're doing a grave injustice, not only to yourself, but to everybody around you.
Wow.
So make sure you do something." That's when I said, you know what, I got to be serious about this. I don't know if I'd gotten the camera already, so I got the camera. I decided I'm going to start.
Yeah.
So I've begun. I'll soon be launching my podcast. It was supposed to launch around January, February, but of course, life challenges hit.
Life
so,
came my lily dog.
Hopefully by June, something will have come up.
Yeah.
At least some sort of introduction or something would have come up. But yeah, the journey is still going on. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find how best to do what I do. Because also you need to grow as a person.
Legit. It never gets better than that.
Exactly. So the more I grow, the more I realize, okay, this life is like this, or this is like this, or that, and then I need to do this, or I need to do this way instead of this way. And you learn how to be tactful. You learn how to use to engage strategy and all that. So yeah, I'm going through it. It's a nice journey. It's a hectic one.
I think content creation is probably the best thing that has taught me to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it also taught me that always expect the unexpected.
Exactly.
Even when you're in like a controlled environment, anything can happen. And
you know what else it taught me is that there's always space.
Or exactly.
We often have this notion, become the next Bill Gates, become the next Elon Musk, become this, become that. So we enter into a loop where we become so we repeat the actions and the beliefs of other people. Right. So I've decided, you know what I do may be conventional, may not be conventional.
That's the truth.
It may be orthodox, it may not be orthodox.
Yeah.
It may be initially accepted, it may not be initially accepted. But the whole issue of it is, like you say, keep going, keep creating. That's the whole idea of content creation. It's not just I'm taking a video and posting it. It has to do with marketing. It has to do with with social engagement. It has to do with self-image. It has to do with so many things.
I think also for me as a person, I've learned that you also become progressive in the process. You become very progressive because you're like, hey, I can't use last year's marketing tactics. Things have changed. I can't just upload on Facebook. People are now on Instagram. I gotta hop on LinkedIn, network with people. People will want genuine connections. I learned those things slowly but surely. I'm like, you know what? Okay, it seems like the more I learn about this, the better it gets. And you keep pushing and you keep getting better at it, and you're like, I guess we can do this.
You don't stop learning.
You don't
stop learning. There are things, and the things that we've spoken about. That before we spoke, I took lightly. After we spoke, I'm like, this actually makes sense. Even with my content, I can proudly say that the content that I would have produced in 2020 is different from the content I would produce now.
Even me.
Because of the things I've learned in that time, and I don't mean academically, I mean in life. Of course, academically also. Through reading, through listening to people, and all that,
And just your experiences.
Exactly.
Just your experiences, best teacher.
And one thing I've realized is We've been doing content creation for the longest time, but we just haven't done it digitally.
Yeah.
Digitally.
Yeah, we haven't.
We haven't, So it allows you to open up. But the fundamental thing that I've realized is that the more you stay human, the more people can relate to you.
I think that's also what I've learned as well. The more authentic you remain.
Exactly.
Bro.
Exactly.
People just want man, I relate with this guy. He's a person like me.
Yeah.
That's
So
something I've learned.
I'm trying. That's one thing I'm learning actually too.
Yeah?
You know what? Don't tense up too much.
Nah, don't.
Relax.
Just relax.
It's taking a while, but we'll get there.
That's eventually. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Eventually you get there, because I think actually I've learned it from doing some of the interviews that I did for the podcast. I did them about February, March.
Oh yeah.
So
this year.
They're still in my bank. Yes. I'm working on them, or I should be starting working on them soon. Anticipating the launch of the podcast. But in that, so usually when there's a camera, you expect it to act a certain way. Your tie. If you're wearing a tie, it mustn't look that way. If something is happening, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in that, you then realize, in engaging with people, you realize you can't really control that. The more free you are, the more fun you have, and the more relatable your content is.
Exactly, and people won't feel like, this is just a very formal place. It's not a place. People forget that. One thing I've learned as a content creator is you're building an online community.
Exactly.
Meaning, your community also will want to behave a certain way, even if it's online.
Exactly.
Some people want to joke around in the online communities they engage in.
Yeah.
Some people want to feel like they can talk about anything and not feel like, this is just some corporate hub or some suit and tie area. And one thing that keeps ringing in my mind is don't make a community that feels like it's hard to access.
Yeah. And on top of that, now there is a fine line between branding and succumbing to social pressure.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
So one thing I've realized is, I'll give an example. Right, the popular podcast, Podcast and Chill, the MacG podcast. There is a way they do it, and they do it so well.
Too good, man.
And they enjoy what they're doing.
I think that's the main part.
But it doesn't, and they've branded themselves
that way, yeah.
But it doesn't mean that as a content creator I should then replicate that.
What they're doing.
Because they have some picture in the back, then I must put my picture in the back. One thing, I don't know if you know Virtual Mkuku. It's Boo's DJ's Boo.
Yeah, I know DJ's Boo.
And he's with Penwell. I don't know if you know Mlocho. I think so. I'm not sure if that's the surname. Forgive me if I'm wrong. They talk serious stuff.
It's also a podcast. Check it out.
Check it out on YouTube. I think it's Virtual Mkuku. Yes. They talk serious stuff a lot. You'll get the likes of JJ Tabane, who's a journalist, political journalist even. So serious guy. I think Palesa's episode should be coming soon.
Oh, for real?
I think so. I saw a post on her Instagram, something to that effect.
Oh.
If I'm wrong, I apologize. But I think
big up to her.
So it's of course, she's doing well. She's doing very well. But they were casual.
Yeah,
it's serious content, but it's casual.
It's casual. Yeah.
Now, because of that, it's relatable.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's the little things that change,
that make a difference.
I mean, the fact that Trevor Noah wore a hoodie during the pandemic, he's like, this guy,
he's our guy.
He's our guy. Plus, it's like no. Now it feels relatable. He's also under pandemic conditions. And the fact that he kept his hair is relatable because we had to keep our hair, you know.
Especially as an African. I think people forget that as a black person or person of African ethnicity.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, keeping hair is like, it's a whole career.
It's a lot of work.
It's a whole vocation. You have to be dedicated to it.
That's why I cut mine.
and during the pandemic, all of that was me too.
Yeah.
That's also why I keep mine as short as possible.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, it was a nightmare.
It's a hassle.
So
yeah, I think I've learned, or at least I'm learning branding. You know, so I want to control what image I send out
to people.
Of course, I can't control the image that people see. But I can control what I send out.
Yeah.
And I want to control it as much as possible because that's who I am and who I'm presenting myself as.
Exactly.
You know, and it's got to be. So we do what we can. We try what we can to the best of our abilities.
Legit.
And it's for the betterment not only of ourselves.
Yeah.
Of course, we want the money.
we
gotta have the money. But of course,
sponsors, whoever wants to sponsor me, hit me up.
Yeah, we should start Patreons when.
Legit, I think I need a Patreon.
I don't know how that works, but we gotta start it. But it's all about creating a community and sharing ideas. That
legit,
because I believe that's what Engineered Thoughts is all about.
Yeah, for me,
that's what I want to start, sharing ideas that benefit everybody, and where we create a community of people who we can say, okay, within the next however many years, we are sure that with these people in the country or in the community, the nation, whatever level of human interaction is safe.
I think that's the thing. I want to create a community of thinkers, man. Hence the word, hence the title, Engineered Thoughts. I want to create a community where people come and say, you know what, today I'm going to learn something, but not only learn something, I'm going to be able to think for myself and not just be fed information by the soul engineer, whoever's on the show.
Exactly.
I want people to come and say, I think I also want to like contribute to the thought that's being engineered that day. I want to feel like I can be part of the show whenever the show is on, and not just watch the show or listen to the show. Man.
And for me, just to just to show what's happening. Mine is gonna be called the Land Podcast.
Ooh. Remember you sent me the logo. It's quite fire.
The Land Podcast, the idea is to get ideas from the land for the land.
Exactly.
So I have come to the point where I've realized that we have so many great thinkers,
especially in bots, man.
And and I'm not talking about thinkers with doctorates or thinkers with masters. People who
just a normal person.
People who you would undermine traditionally with this classist idea that you have to have certain qualifications to be a person. Those are the people who have more wisdom, even more than some with doctorates.
Yeah.
So it's fundamentally we're saying let's come up with ideas that relate to us and speak to us. And can help us. Because unfortunately, now here's the thing. I don't know if this will drive us into a tangent or something, but again, speaking of context, if you take an idea and transplant it, one of two things happen. Either the idea dies or the context dies. Because the idea must create its own context.
That's the thing.
You know. So, for example, let's take agricultural practices. There were ways that... Oh, no. Let's take education. Education.
That's the most easy to mess up.
There were ways that Africans conducted education traditionally. Right? And that covered life skills. It covered human relationality. It covered survival. It covered how to be a person in society, you know, and all that, and many more.
Yeah.
To a point where when a person grows up, they can identify animals. They can identify certain plants,
herbs and plants.
Of course, in different times, different things come up. And then you have an education that comes in. Now, here's where the tension starts. It's good to read. It's good to write. It's good to learn to read. It's good to learn to write. Now, when English comes to the African person, it comes with its whole system. It comes with its alphabet system. It comes with its phonetics. It comes with
that's one thing.
Everything.
Everything on its own.
Now, when the African person gains this education, it is good to learn. But then we run at a risk of then removing our own personhood. Because that education also comes with personhood, by the way. Because it carries a consciousness of that context. Right. So it is very possible that in adopting that education, you then remove your own consciousness and adopt a consciousness that is not of your own. So you have an alien life form within yourself. And that is quite a dangerous thing. Very dangerous thing. So in this, we must then come to a point where we say, okay, this is who we are, and this is what benefits us. So that's why the podcast is there. The idea is to say, okay, let's think as us now, understanding our context. Not asking what people can do for us, but saying, okay, this is what we can do.
What can we do?
Yes. If we need help, they will help us on top of what we are doing. So no one is doing anybody a favor.
A favor.
We don't have to owe anyone anything.
No.
If someone decides, you know what, I'm done with you guys, I'm leaving. We don't have to. We can cry, fine, but we don't have to mourn over the idea that the whole industry has fallen. So we need to protect ourselves and our children. I don't have children, but our future generations. Yes.
I get you. I wanted to ask though, now since we're still talking about now, if you've like gone into what I wanted to ask about the land and your podcast and all of that, I wanted us to talk a bit more about bots, especially because you've been here for quite some time now. I think it's been over a year now, right? It's been over a year, and I think from the time before COVID, bots has changed quite a lot. Both politically, sociologically, not necessarily physically, but like it's gone through quite a number of changes. And what observations have you made?
Well, I will. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this cuts across the plain. So mostly Southern Africa.
Keep continuing.
There is one person, I am forgetting the name. Please remind me to send the name to you.
Okay.
So that when you post the podcast, you can put the name there. There's a gentleman who, I don't know if it's a gentleman, there's a person who writes an article and says how Britain underdeveloped Botswana land. And
I think I've read about not that article, but I've read about
it. So you'll get to realize that a lot of struggles that we have haven't died out yet. From those days,
the colonial times.
Exactly. Some have just fermented. So that's why you then have situations where we still have we still have a lot of unemployment. I don't remember the stats. I don't want to lie, but it's quite high. Poverty statistics are also high. I mean, as of 2015, the 2015-16 BHTMS or BHMTS, some survey. I forgot what the exact name is. It's about 16.3%. And that's a lot.
That's a lot, man.
That's a lot.
That's like at least 1 in every 10.
Yeah.
But close to 1 in every 5.
Yeah. So in every 20 you have about 3. And that's too much.
That's a lot.
That's way too much. Totaibile, one person in adverse poverty is too much.
Just one is a lot.
Just one is a lot. Now, what I would say is that as a people, historically speaking, one of our ideas ke botho.
Yeah.
Now, botho usually is expressed as this idea of respect and treating and smiling when you meet people, greeting people.
Yeah.
But I believe that's a gross understatement or gross understating of the philosophy, because the philosophy
it is
because it relates to, it's the same thing as Ubuntu.
Yeah.
So botho fully expressed is moto ke moto ka batho.
Yeah.
Now here's what one person says. I also forgot his name. He says he's a I think he's either a researcher or he did his research at Stellenbosch University. He was talking about counseling, but he says the Ubuntu principle defies the cogito ergo sum.
What's that?
That's René Descartes' philosophy. I think, therefore I am.
Ah, yes.
So René Descartes suggests that, okay, how do I know that this table is real? The very fact that I can doubt that it is real means that it is real.
Means that it's real.
So my capacity to think and evaluate suggests that I'm a person.
I'm a person.
But the Ubuntu philosophy or the Botho philosophy then says, no. You are because you are in community.
That's what gives the meaning of being a person.
That's what gives the meaning of being a person.
Because you are in a community.
Because you're in a community. So I am a person not because I'm an individual.
Yeah.
But I am an individual who comes out of a community.
Basically, I'm a person because of other people.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So my personhood is dependent on other people. That's what Botho means.
Oof.
Essentially, what it suggests is that life is not life without other people. So an injustice to one is an injustice to all, number one. Number two, there is this inter-involvement or co-involvement, however you wish to express it, between all persons, for the sake of all persons, right? And one thing I would say is we need a return to philosophies like this, because it is in philosophies like this where we then realize our involvement in participating in everything that is Botswana. So when we
community.
Exactly. So when we speak of small businesses, we don't say let us promote small businesses because it's fashionable, right?
Yeah.
We promote small businesses because it is within us.
Because it's part of us.
It is part of us.
It's how we are.
It is within our nature.
Yeah.
So we do not exercise Pusha BW. We are Pusha BW.
Wow. That gives it a whole new meaning. In my head.
We when we look at each other,
yeah,
we don't look at candidates for abuse. We don't look at other people as things. Why? Because of our interdependence and our acknowledgement of our co-humanity.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So these fundamental ideals inform so much, because now we are coming into a stage where it's rough.
Hey,
it's rough.
It's really tough.
Economically, we're facing struggles. In terms of resource, we're facing struggles. In terms of human resource, we're facing struggles. In terms of education, children are failing at higher levels. and so on and so forth. We are facing great challenges.
Great challenges.
But I am of the belief, and I'm of the ardent and strong and stubborn belief that the only way to deal with is not to send certain people. Usually we say, okay, this person will fix things. We send that person, and then the person finds that, hey, it's not easy.
It's not fixable.
One person can fix it.
It's not a one person.
And then we say that person has failed. Let's send another one.
One.
Gakeesi has failed because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do not consider what Gakeesi found there. And sometimes Gakeesi is made worse because of that context. So okay, let's send Katlego. And now we find ourselves in a cycle, a continuous cycle of
a blame game.
Of blaming you. I'm not saying we shouldn't keep people accountable.
Yeah.
But we should come to a point where, look, democracy is not voting.
It's not.
Voting does not make a system democratic.
No.
Democracy is the involvement of all persons in the governance of a system. So that's why in a school you'll have a student representative council, because these are people who represent the interest of the students in the presence of the administration. So when the administration says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the SRC says no, the students are in this position. Now here's what happens. If democracy is voting, then it would mean that because the votes are this side, then that is right. But that cannot be. We must come to a point. Of course, democracy does suggest a majority wins kind of idea. Wins. But I believe that we must ourselves then say we want a democracy plus, where we say we listen not only to the majority, but we consider the minority. Because what will happen then is a majority will vote to if you see a tall person, slap them. Then you must then consider all things in dealing with that majority rule. Because of the majority vote, there's legality in that claim.
Yeah.
But then we need a situation where you say, okay, fine. Katlego, you're an engineer. How does your being an engineer benefit the community, benefit the nation, and how does the nation benefit you? How does your being an engineer benefit me being a lawyer? How does me being a lawyer benefit? So, because you have Katie Motsete's writings that then become our national anthem, where he says, he says, essentially, the only way we can progress is in communal involvement.
Legit.
So if we say, okay, I do this, I sell chickens, right? This is my offer. Then you say, okay, I sell chicken feed, right? Another person says, okay, I make siswasa kuku, right? And then another one says, okay, I package. And another one says, I have a warehouse. Then you have a chain of people who benefit off of each other, but also for the benefit of others.
That's true.
And in that communal involvement, then we can have growth.
Legit.
So for me, that's the fundamental idea. And again, that's why we have we're going to have the podcast, because if you look at environmental issues, agricultural issues, we then say, okay, let's see where we are now and say, okay, how can we then move forward, right? In terms of environmental, where we are dealing with so on and so forth. How can we then move forward? Then you have people, of course, not on the podcast, but you have a person who then says, I am making biodiesel. However they make it, right? that's good because it shows innovation and involvement. Because it's saying, okay, we are here as a country. We are, a lot of our fuels are causing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How then do we move from that to progression? Biodiesel. Another person can say, okay, we will harness the mitochondria in trees. That's a very weird thing to do, but you know.
The powerhouse of the cell.
You know, we will harness the energy of the mitochondria.
Yeah.
However they do it. Right. That's progression. Not because it emulates something that's been done somewhere and it's been declared progression. Exactly. And it becomes progression because it's a natural development.
Of us realizing our problem and seeing the need to solve it and seeing how we can solve it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly. It's like putting a child on a bicycle. They haven't learned how to cycle. They will fall. And that's what happens when we adopt advancements that aren't naturally ours.
That makes sense.
So you start with training wheels. Okay, we adjust, we grow. Right. This is what we need. Someone says, okay, I'll do this. Right. For example, A1 has traffic.
Yeah.
Then someone says, okay, look, I'll make a road that is off A1 but takes another route. Right. It eases traffic.
It does.
You know, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, that's an extreme example, but these are ways that we can then say, okay, I am involved. It's not just certain people who have the sole prerogative of benefiting the country and our people. It is a communal prerogative that all of us are given upon birth.
That makes sense.
The question then becomes how. That's where passion comes in. That's where calling comes in. That's where ability comes in.
Yeah.
Those ideas that I can do this, I can offer this.
What I can offer.
And once you decide, okay, I can offer this, then we move, you know.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. My battery's now dying. So I guess we'll do the second part of the how part on your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm always willing to go
no, definitely
on your podcast.
I'm gonna call you back.
But it's been an amazing, I think it's been an hour and a half, close to an hour and a half of us recording.
Yeah.
And quite grateful for this conversation, man.
Hey, me too, bro.
Quite grateful.
Me too.
Really opened my eyes on how we can solve our problems in the country. And also, when you're talking about theology, how we can apply theology and how we can, face the future and put it into our context using the biblical fundamental principles we've been given. So, man, it's been an amazing.
Hey, thank you.
Been amazing.
Thank you so much.
It's been amazing to have you. And if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, thank you for being on episode. Thank you for checking it out. Check this guy on social media.
Please do. Please do. Follow, like, subscribe, everything.
I'll plug all these links down below. Be sure to check it out. And if you have a comment, leave it down below. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. If you have a question, open up, ask, and we will be more than glad to engage in conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, it's the Soul Engineer. It was nice having you guys. See you guys on the next episode. Soul Engineer out.